Hi everyone. So today I'm going to show you the burrito method. Now we'd use this method in a sleeveless garment if we want to line it. So it gives a really clean finish on the neckline and around the armholes. So I'm going to use this blue-green fabric as my outer fabric, and then the pink fabric here will be my lining fabric. So I have two identical bodices, so two pieces exactly the same. I've already put the darts in here and in the lining piece as well. The first thing that we do is attach the back bodice to the front bodice at the shoulder seams on both the outer fabric and in the lining fabric. So I'll just go and do that. Now that we have both pieces attached at the shoulder seams and the seams pressed open on both pieces, we're going to lay them down right sides together. So this is my outer and this is my lining. So we'll lay the lining on top and we're going to match the shoulder seams and pin all the way around the neckline, and we're going to stitch that. Now that we have the neckline stitched together, the next thing to do is to clip the seams. So we'll clip into the curves. This is a V-neck, so you clip right into the V shape there. You can do this with any shape neckline, so a round neck, a square neck. This method will work also. And we're going to just clip into there, and we're going to also grade the seams down. So I'll be cutting the lining side of the seam down to half the width there, and then we will be understitching also. The neckline is clipped and the seams are graded, so I've trimmed down the lining side to half. The next step is to understitch. Now understitching is where all of the seam allowance is pushed towards the lining side. Do it from the top here, and then you will be stitching very close to the seam on the lining side with all of the seam allowance pushed towards the lining. This prevents the neckline from rolling outwards and it keeps it nice and structured. So I'll go and do that now. The understitching is complete, and that also means that the neckline is now complete. So all of the raw edges are concealed between the lining and the outer. So with your right side facing up, we're now going to start the actual burrito roll method, and that will enclose the sleeve area, the armhole area. So with the main side facing up, we're going to take both pieces and we're going to start rolling away from ourselves from one side over to the other, keeping it quite tight, quite close. When we get to this stage here, we're going to take the main outer piece, lift it up, and we're just going to pick that up and flip the whole piece over so that we get right sides together. You can pick the whole thing up there. So you should have your raw edges together, right sides together of your armhole, of your outer and your main. We'll pin all around this area here and then stitch. As you're pinning the armhole edge and before you stitch, just make sure that everything that's enclosed inside, the rest of the top essentially, everything that's enclosed inside is away from that edge that you're going to be stitching. You don't want to catch the bulk of that top in this edge seam allowance here. So as I did with the neckline, I've trimmed down the lining seam to a half and I've snipped all the way around the edge of the curve there. Next thing we want to do is to pull this through to the right side. So you put your hand in one side and grab it, and then you're feeding everything through back out to the right side. So there you have one neckline and one armhole completely enclosed. So now we repeat the same technique for the other side. So this being the secured side here, we've got the right side facing up, and then we're going to roll it again away from you, keeping it nice and tight as we did before. And the same method again. Going to pick up that top fabric, flip that under and match the second armhole like so, matching your notches, matching your shoulder seam, and stitch as before. So with the second armhole seam graded and clipped, we can now turn it out to the right side. And now we'll have a completely concealed neckline and 2 armholes. So the thing left to do, getting a bit of a tangle, the thing left to do now is to secure, well, to iron it all out first, give it a good press, get those edges nice and crisp, and then we shall look at attaching the side seams together. We're all nicely pressed now, so we need to make sure that our side seams are all enclosed as well. So if you open up your bodice piece like so, with the main piece facing upwards, you want to take your 2 ends of your main fabric at the hem, hold them together. With your other hand, take the lining fabric so that you have the edges of the top lined up. So you've got your lining to your lining and your main to your main, matching up your notches. You can do that on both sides. Pin along the edge all the way along and just sew the seam all in one go. Repeat for the other side, making sure you're not stitching anything else in other than the seam. Pinned down the side seams, both sides, and ready to sew. Side seams are stitched, so let's turn it back to the correct side. So you'll see that now all the seams are nicely enclosed. So you have your neckline enclosed, really neat armholes, and your side seams as well. That's the outside, that's the inside, all completely complete. So this method works on woven fabrics. It also works on stretch fabrics too. It's particularly useful if you have a sheer fabric that you want to give a little bit of opacity to. You could just create the self-lining just to give it that opacity and follow the burrito method. Even if your pattern doesn't have a lining pattern within it, you can draft your own using the same pattern as the outer, and then follow the burrito method that we have shown you here today. So we hope you've enjoyed this video, and happy sewing everyone.